Let's talk about that debate. Good morning, everyone. It's the day after the debate. I just woke up a little while ago and I had to get in front of the camera to get my thoughts down because I have a busy day and I don't know if I'll be able to do this later. Um, I don't know what everyone is saying out there. I don't know what all the talking heads are saying, and I don't care. I don't come onto this channel and tell you what I hear other people say or pass off other people's opinions as my own. I'm going to tell you here what I think. And if you don't like it, that's fine. You can disagree. Leave a comment below. Tell me how you disagree. But if you're going to get mad about what I have to say about this, my opinion about this, and you're going to unsubscribe, go ahead. I don't care. You're not a serious person anyway if you can't hear a difference of opinion without throwing a temper tantrum and leaving and unsubscribing or insulting. I don't have time for that. So good riddance if that's how you're going to approach this. For the serious people, here's my take on this. That was an absolute unmitigated disaster. Not just because of the performance, but because of what the performance does. What the performance does is confirm in many people's minds the most serious criticisms of President Biden, that he is too old, that he is not capable of this. He just confirmed for a lot of people their concerns about that. Let me deal with this issue of him having a cold, because that seems to be the excuse that his people are putting out. He had a cold. First of all, if he had an illness of any kind, cold, whatever, that was bad enough to affect his performance, then you reschedule the fucking debate. You don't put him out there and have a disaster of a performance and say, oh, but don't worry, he had a cold. Okay? This could easily have been rescheduled. Give me a break. They could have done it next week. This is 2 podiums and a couple of moderators in a studio. Okay, this is not hard to coordinate. Okay, so don't give me, oh, he had a cold. There shouldn't have been a debate last night if his cold would affect his performance. Number 2, I don't care how bad a cold he had, that does not account for that performance. Now, maybe it accounted for a little bit of the raspiness and the hoarseness in his voice, but that doesn't explain everything else. That doesn't explain his failure to be able to respond to Donald Trump. Donald Trump lied virtually every word that came out of his mouth, and President Biden was virtually unable to respond to any of it. I have said many times before that there has been no candidate for president or for any elected office, for that matter, in the history of our country who has had more baggage than Donald Trump, who has more that can be used against them than Donald Trump. The man was impeached twice. The man was indicted 4 times. The man is a convicted felon. The man raped a woman. The man found liable for massive fraud, and on and on and on. On top of his disastrous record, there is so much that could be used against this man. President Biden was unable to do almost anything to hit this guy. So a cold doesn't explain that. And if his cold was so severe that maybe he's in a brain fog, I mean, we've been there before, right? We're sick, we're under the weather, our brain doesn't work right, we feel like we're in a fog. If that's what was going on, then, as I say, you reschedule the fucking debate. And I was on Twitter last night making some comments, and I mentioned that this should have been rescheduled if he was sick, and that's what affected his performance. And I had some guy say, oh, he'd have been damned if he did and damned if he didn't. What the hell kind of stupid comment is that? Damned if he did, damned if he didn't. He'd be damned if he was sick and had to reschedule the debate. Give me a freaking break. Everyone gets sick. Okay? You reschedule it for a week. That wouldn't have hurt his campaign at all. It's really stupid. I'm so sick of the stupid excuses. Okay, what else? And I hear a lot of people, or at least I did last night. As I say, I haven't seen what people are saying this morning after they have had a night to sleep on it or whatever. But, a lot of people on the Democrat side. And by the way, before I get to that, here's the thing. I'm so sick of partisanship. I really am. I was a lifelong Republican. Now I'm not. But neither am I a Democrat. I'm just going to remain independent because I hate what partisanship does to people. It prevents people from thinking independently. And I can't stand it. But one refrain that I heard over and over last night is, people need to calm down. This isn't going to change anybody's vote. Not one person's vote is going to be changed because of a debate. Well, number one, if that were true, nobody's mind ever gets changed because of a debate, ever, because that seemed to be what these people are saying. Debates don't ever change anyone's mind. That's bullshit, all right? Complete nonsense. If that were true, we would never have debates. What would be the point? So number one, you can lie to yourself if you want, all right? I'm not going to blow that smoke up your ass. Go ahead and lie to yourself if it makes you feel better. But it's only going to make yourself feel better temporarily if Donald Trump is reelected. Your good vibes about the telling yourself lies about the debate last night, that it's only going to make you feel good for so long if we end up losing this thing. But this idea, calm down. Debates don't change anybody's mind. Even if they don't change anybody's mind, which I think is nonsense, people's minds get... You see, here's the thing. When people make comments like that, I saw that over and over on social media. This debates don't change anyone's mind. I'm still voting for Biden. I don't care, so I don't know what everybody's all upset about. Nobody's going to not vote for Biden because of this. They are projecting their own perspective onto everybody else. Now, their perspective on these people on Twitter that I was watching, or interacting with, these are people who live and breathe politics all the time. They're on Twitter all the time. They're debating politics all the time. They know everything that's going on. Do not assume that everyone else is doing that. Most Americans are not. Most Americans are not on Twitter. Most Americans are not following politics the way you and I do. Right? A hell of a lot of people pay very little attention to politics at all. Why do you think the polls are neck and neck? Okay, there are a hell of a lot of Americans who are completely unaware of Donald Trump's legal problems. Or to the extent that they're aware at all, they don't really know much at all. Okay, so do not assume that nobody's mind can be changed by a debate. If someone hasn't really been following politics at all, they haven't been checking in, they don't know what the hell's going on, and then they turn on this debate, or let me get to in a second, they turn on this debate, what's more important than debate, I'll get to in a second. They turn on this debate and they see this. They see Donald Trump, yeah, torrent of lies, fucking crazy man, but at least the man appeared strong in command of his faculties, and then you see an enfeebled Joe Biden. Don't tell me that doesn't make a difference. Don't tell me that that can't possibly change anybody's minds. And what I was going to say about even more important than the debates, for a lot of Americans who didn't watch this debate, because that's another thing I heard. Oh, most people didn't watch this debate, so it doesn't matter. What are you fucking idiot? You don't have to watch this debate to be aware of what happened at this debate. Because let me tell you, because another thing I heard is, I'm sorry, I'm all over the place here, but whatever. He was really bad for only about 15 minutes, so it doesn't really matter. Are people not aware of the world that we live in? I mean, have they been in a coma for the last 20 years? They don't understand the media landscape we live in now. So many people get their information and news, honest to God, from social media, from TikTok and watching YouTube shorts and stuff like that. And these clips of Joe Biden, mouth agape, seemingly unaware of what the hell is even going on, unable to form a coherent response. Okay, those clips are going to go viral all the time. I mean, it doesn't matter. You didn't see that debate, you're going to see all those clips, and you're going to see all the worst moments of that debate. So don't tell me, oh, he was only really bad for like 15 minutes. Guess what? Those 15 minutes are the only thing from that debate that a lot of people are even going to see. And don't tell me this stuff doesn't change anybody's mind. What else? So what should we do now, right? And is it possible he can still win? Joe Biden can still win? Yeah, it's possible Joe Biden can still win. But it's a lot less possible now. We are in a much, much worse place now than we were yesterday at this time. And here's what I think we should do. It is time for President Biden to gracefully exit the political stage. Not resign, but he should drop out of the race. Now, I heard a lot of people accusing people like me who have this opinion of, panicking and, calm down. But I've had this position that he shouldn't be the nominee since before he announced he was running again. He should have been a one-term president. In fact, that's what he led people to believe when he was running back in 2020. I have been opposed to his candidacy for re-election this entire time. But when I voiced this, a year ago or whenever, I got savaged, on my various platforms. I'm like, what the hell? What's the point? I said my piece. But I'm re-upping it now. Some of you people need to deal with reality. That's the thing about partisanship, man. It prevents people from thinking independently. And look, you can think independently and evaluate this yourself and legitimately come to a different decision, a different opinion than I have. That's fine. Like I said, let me know in the comments. What's your opinion? What do you think of all this? But for me, this is not a snap judgment. Oh, now it was a bad performance, so now he should drop out. I never thought he should have run in the first place. And this confirms for me why I believe that. He's just not up to it anymore. And this is not a knock on President Biden personally. The man's 81 years old. Okay? That's going to happen to all of us. We're all, God willing, we live long enough for us to deteriorate a bit. Nobody can escape the time, right? Nobody can escape the toll that time takes on us. So this is not a personal insult, but he's 81 years old and he's not the same guy he was. None of us will be when we're 81 years old, okay? He's not up to this, and there is way too much at stake. So, yes, I think the best thing, and look, this is not ideal, okay? President Biden should have announced long ago that he wasn't going to seek re-election. We should have had a contested primary on the Democrat side, and we'd have a different nominee today. That's what should have happened. So this is certainly not ideal by any stretch of the imagination. But the tumult and chaos that could attend the choosing of a new nominee, we would get past that. It would be a little rough for a little while as we figure it out. Then we'd just settle on a nominee, but no later than next month. And then we'd be on to the general election campaign, and this would be put behind us. Okay, we'd have to go through a little bit, but we'd get a nominee, and we'd be better off. It's either that or this, I'm sorry, this greatly diminished man will be our nominee in the most important election perhaps in American history, certainly the most important election since 1860. That's where we are. And it's better, people should have realized this a long time ago, but better late than never. The good thing about this happening, the good thing about these debates being so early is that disastrous debate happened in June rather than in September, or October, when we really would have no choice. We have a choice now. It's probably our last opportunity. The absolute best thing would be for President Biden to put the interests of the country first here. It would be the most patriotic thing that he could do. A little self-reflection, realize that it is not in the best interest of the country for him to continue to seek a second term. He should withdraw from the race and do everything he could to help the process of choosing another nominee, and then putting his full weight of support behind that person and unifying the party so that we go into the fall election season as a united front and take the fight to Donald Trump. If just imagine if Joe Biden was 20 years younger, or just imagine if we had any competent candidate who was in control of their mental faculties up on that debate stage last night against Donald Trump. Imagine how different that would have been. Imagine if we had a candidate who was able to respond to Donald Trump's torrent of lies. President Biden was exceedingly ineffectual at trying to combat Donald Trump's lies. First of all, he didn't even barely try. And secondly, to the extent that he did, all he did was say he's a liar. That's pretty much it. Donald Trump should have been bashed over the head with his lies. You would hardly even know that Donald Trump is a convicted felon, having watched that debate. That should have been one of the first words out of Joe Biden's mouth. It took, what was it? It was, I believe, because I was looking at the clock, it was like 40 minutes into the debate before President Biden made the slightest offhand comment about Donald Trump being a convicted felon. 40 minutes in. And of course, those moderators were awful. We have a fucking convicted felon running for president. The moderators don't say a friggin' word. We have a man who is an adjudicated rapist. He raped a woman. Moderators don't say a word. Twice impeached. Never came up. Fucking kidding me. 4 indictments. I mean, violent insurrection. Yeah, they had a question on the insurrection, but it was weak, and they just allowed Trump to go on with his lies. I mean, so the moderators were a disaster. But imagine if we had a competent, not that Biden is incompetent, someone who is in a better position, younger, mentally nimble, all right? Someone who's not suffering from advanced age, as the president clearly is. Someone else could have been able to bring up the convictions, to bring up the impeachments, to bring up the rape and all of this stuff and shove it down his throat. You can't just say it one time. And my God, Donald Trump could be so easily baited, as it was. With virtually no opponent at all up on that stage, Donald Trump still was largely a lunatic. But his lunacy, no one's going to remember his lunacy. I'm sorry, they're not. Because that's another thing I hear from all these geniuses on Twitter and elsewhere. Oh, that Trump was lying so much and he was a lunatic. It doesn't matter. The only thing that people are going to remember from that debate is an enfeebled Joe Biden. Okay? That's the Trump stuff. No one's going to remember that. I'm sorry. They're not. Donald Trump should have been destroyed in that debate last night. Anybody else who is prepared for the rigors of a campaign, anyone else who is younger and sharper, would have destroyed Donald Trump. Would have destroyed him. As I said, there is no candidate in the history of our country who has had more that could be used against them than Donald Trump. And President Biden is simply unable to make the case. And we know now that the media is not going to do it. Okay? We have an apathetic, ignorant, uninformed public They're too busy scrolling through puppy videos or whatever the fuck they're doing, okay? We have the most uninformed electorate in our history. Do not expect that these people are going to come to the right conclusion. All right? Do not expect that these people know all about his criminal convictions and the rape and the fraud and everything else, because a lot of them don't. A hell of a lot of them don't. They have to be told. Joe Biden is incapable. The media is not going to do it. So where are they going to get that information? From ads? You're putting all your friggin' hope in ads? All right, that's what I think. What do you guys think? Right? As I said, it's not ideal by any stretch of the imagination. But it's better than taking a chance on Joe Biden. And they're scheduled for a debate in September. If Joe Biden is the nominee, I sure as hell hope he doesn't debate in September. Imagine if he turns in another performance like that in September. You say he got a cold again, and do you think anyone's going to give a shit that you say he had a cold? Doesn't matter. That's an excuse. I'm sorry, it's just an excuse. Maybe it explains some part of his performance, but it doesn't matter. All it is an excuse. You're sick, it affects your performance, you reschedule. That's what you do. There's way too much at stake. You don't send a horse. I mean, whatever. I'm just so disgusted by this, because this was my worst fear all along, since Joe Biden said he was going to seek re-election. This has been my fear since then. I mean, yes, he's been a fairly good president, as far as it goes. Certainly not the disaster that Republicans say that he is. Whatever. I don't know. Lost my train of thought, I guess. Maybe I'm getting too old to run for president. And what the hell? Who are these people advising him? He was hunkered down at Camp David for a week or 5 days. All week he's been prepping at Camp David. And that is the result? What was the game plan? What the hell was even the fucking plan going into that debate? The only debate performance arguably worse than Joe Biden's debate performance last night, and I don't think it was as bad as Joe Biden's debate performance last night, was Admiral Stockdale in 1992. I don't know what I'm talking about, look it up. But I don't even think that was as bad. I'm sure there's things, as soon as I stop recording here, I'm going to think about that I should have said. But, we're going to have to revisit this again. But let me just sum up here. The best thing that could happen is for Joe Biden on his own. Or if some people have to go to him and have a come to Jesus meeting, so be it. But for Joe Biden to gracefully exit the stage, realize that he doesn't have what it takes anymore. I mean, this man has done a great service for this country, for which I will always be grateful. He defeated Donald Trump in 2020. He saved the country from another term of Donald Trump. But his time he's put in his service. We need to be thankful for it, and wish him all the best, but he needs to go. And the best thing would be for him to come to this realization on his own, step aside, and be part of the process to help us go through the process as smoothly as possible of selecting a nominee. And don't freak out about selecting another nominee. I hear people, oh, it's too late. It's not fucking too late. Joe Biden is not the official nominee yet, okay? That doesn't happen until the convention. And we have like a month. We can pick another nominee. Yeah, so maybe there's a lot of uncertainty in the next month before we officially nominate someone at the convention. Maybe it gets a little ugly. Who cares? So what? By convention day, when we have the convention, we nominate our new nominee. All that craziness is in the past. We'll have a nominee, we'll be a united front going forward, and we can focus all of our attention on destroying Donald Trump, and we would have a candidate with the mental abilities to do it. I'm sorry, but President Biden just doesn't have it. But that is what is required. That is what we need. We need somebody who is up to it. Someone who could destroy Donald Trump on that debate stage and take it to him. Right? That's what we need. That's what the country needs. There's way too much in the balance. Okay? We lose this election. This republic, I truly believe this. I don't mean this hyperbole. This republic, as it has always existed, is over. It's done. We'll talk about that more. Anyways, I gotta go. Thanks for watching. As I said, if you disagree with me, that's fine. Maybe you'll convince me to your point of view. Comment below. Tell me how you disagree. But if you can't do so without being personally insulting, or don't bother. Or because if I see you be, you want to hurl an insult, fine. You have at it. You'll have one shot, and then it's fuck you. You'll be blocked. I don't tolerate that crap. Be an adult person and try to persuade or register your disagreement like an adult human being. Okay? You don't have to hurl around personal insults. So that's it. Be well. God help us, and I'll talk to you again soon.